Today we're going to do our second Enneagram exploration. We're going to, last Sunday we explored the core points, the three, the six, and the nine. These are the cores of basically the three intelligences of the Enneagram. The six is the core of the thinking intelligence. The three is the core of the feeling or relationship intelligence, the emotional intelligence, and the nine is the core of the sensate or instinctual intelligence. These are all different intelligences. We all have them, but it's helpful to know it all. As I say in the subtitle to it today. Philo of Alexandria, who was like a first century kind of Jewish philosopher in Alexandria, Egypt. He said, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle." And the Enneagram is the map of that battle. And maybe you realized you're one of the core points last week. Well, it's important to find your own the dimensions of your own battle, and the battle is to go from ultimately uh, from your ego to the uh, and nothing wrong with the ego, but it's only a way station. The ego, I'd say, the battle is to learn how to go from role to soul, especially when you get older and your role is gone. Maybe you've retired. Maybe you were a husband and then your wife died, or vice versa. The roles come and go, but the soul is the ultimate goal. And so, how do you go and inhabit your soul? Morton called it the true self. You call it the essence. All the traditions have a different idea of what this kind of pilgrimage is that we're on, what we're drawn to, what we long for. We keep finding stuff we think we long for. When we get it, we realize it isn't it. Yeah. So this gives you some dimensions uh, of the uh, of the journey too, and so a few other introductory things, and then we've got three members of the community that are going to read the three external points, and external energies. The core points, which we read last week, and this, if you're a six or three or nine, uh, this will explain something, especially. But if you're like today, if your energy is primarily the energy of the seven or the two or the eight, you go through life with not all of it, but most of your energy focused on the external world, on the outside world. Okay. And that can tie you up into knots. It's a battle. Now, next week, we'll do the five, to four, and to one, which are our internal cats. And these, most of their energy is focused on the internal, the inside realm, okay, which has its own challenges and opportunities. Uh, but the core points, if you're a six, three, or nine, you're a little bit like Napoleon or Hitler. You're fighting a war on two fronts because that's the nature of the core points. Is they really go their awareness as they go through life is focused on both the outside and the inside, which is why most core points talk about exhaustion because it's hard to fight a war anywhere, but a fight a war on two fronts, yeah. So that's a little insight. But most important thing, because we get a we in the Enneagram, it's a terrific tool, but you can get caught in the idea of thinking you're a number. All right, get this, bold letters. Nobody is a number. Uh, like if you're one, I'm a one on the Enneagram. It just describes sort of my defensive energy shield that enabled me to survive the slings and arrows of childhood. That's what it's for. And as we'll talk about it uh, in the Dancing with Spirit on the 21st, we're going to do a kind of integrating all this stuff with the integral Enneagram. Uh, your defensive energy shield is just strictly in the left brain, and it's there to help you survive. Okay, Now, the right brain, which we're bringing on as a contemplative group, the right brain of the heart and soul uh, is necessary to flourish. So if you just want to survive and you just feel like you're just surviving, that's a tip off that you're living mostly in the left brain. You wouldn't want to be without it. It's good that we survive, but that's not the whole point. That's not the whole point of being longevity. Is not the whole point. The whole point is to make the journey uh, and to become whole brained, and mostly for most of us to bring on the right brain more. Uh, no, your childhood operating system, your defensive shield that saved you in childhood, it saved your bacon. That's why we're so wedded to it. But it tends to get in the way of flourishing as an adult. Flourishing is a key word. It should be a key word. The idea of just, it's like a tree or a rose finally opens a bud, and flourishing is the name of the game. So your energy style, habit energy that got you through childhood, sort of was your castle there that protected you, but it can become in the adult world, your prison. And that's a tricky thing. And so that brings us to something I mentioned last week, the Pirates of the Caribbean. And the Caribbean's, it's a shallow region compared to the deep ocean. I think the word Bahamas means shallow. And so that was the pirates and the sailors were just saying, you got to really watch it there. Well, they said those navigators of the Caribbean in those times said hidden reefs are dangerous. You can run aground and get the boat stuck on one. You can't really see it, but it's there only 5 feet under the water, and you get stuck there. It might destroy your ship. Hidden reefs are dangerous only when they are hidden. That's wisdom. So you don't have to. These things in our childhood habit energy, our defensive shield that get in the way now of seeing things and flourishing. You don't have to get rid of them. You just have to put them on your map. The pirates, after they ran aground, and if they're lucky enough to pull their boat off, or wait for a storm or something, then they put on the map. They said, I'm not going to go that way. Don't go that way. See, so, and for example, Pam, my wife Pam and I have been married for 55 years, but we were seriously shipwrecked a couple of times on both of our hidden reefs. Things about ourselves that we didn't see that got in the way of our marriage. Okay, so this is critical. That's when I discovered the Enneagram back in 1980, when we were shipwrecked the first time. Yeah. Now, the book we'll be using as a navigation chart. So some of you know it, but if you're new today, I'm just going to put it up real quickly. Uh, yeah, here it is. Uh, and it's Beatrice Chestnut has a profoundly deep book called The Complete Enneagram, but it's too deep to start out with, and really more than most people really are looking for. But this is a very good introduction and takes you pretty deep, just about as deep as you need to go, I think. So for YouTube guys, I wanted to have it up there so they'd see it. And this is also need this down. I can stop to share. Also, on the notes from this week, I have a Google Books. Oh, wait a minute. I have a Google Books sort of link that if you can't afford the book, or if you somehow can't get the book, you're waiting for nothing's going to be delivered here for a while. With all the ice and snow, and Amazon's not coming down this driveway. I include that in the notes, and you can actually get the whole book on Google. It's books.google.com, and I have a link for that, so you can get the information that way. It's a lot of scrolling. I love books, but anyway. So the external points. Now, these we're about to hear are actually the narrative story of how these energies form and save our bacon as children, but also in the process can turn us into sort of zombies. And we're going to start with the seven, which is from the thinking intelligence, and then we're going to go to the two, which is from the emotional feeling intelligence, and then we're going to go up to the eight for our third story, which is our gut instinct sensate intelligence. And again, we need all three, and that's another reason to study all the points, because you want all three intelligences to be activated. Okay, so our first energy, the seven, is on the path from gluttony to sobriety. There's a path in every one of these, and Dan Marston is going to read this. So go ahead, Dan.
Hello, friends. It's Dan in Louisville. It's good to see you all again. Once upon a time, there was a person named Seven. He was born with a natural sense of curiosity and wonder. He came into this world with a beautiful capacity for higher wisdom and true joy, a deep desire to focus intently on one thing at a time and to discover and take pleasure in each thing's essence. He loved concentrating all his attention on something he wanted to learn about and know deeply. But one day, when Seven was paying close attention to a bee that was walking on his leg, it stung him. He burst into tears and looked around for someone to comfort him. He tried to tell his father about it and perhaps receive some comfort, but his father was angry about something and told him to go away. So he went to his mother, but she was busy doing something and said she didn't have time to hear about something so insignificant. These responses made Seven feel even more pain, almost more than he could handle. Seven hadn't had much experience with pain, and he didn't like it. So, to get away from these unpleasant sensations, he retreated into his own imagination. He started thinking about things that made him excited, watching clouds as they passed through the sky, or playing with his best friend. In fact, Seven found that he was good at imagining fun and interesting things. As time went on, he became adept at diverting his attention to these thoughts whenever any kind of pain threatened him. Whenever he started feeling anything other than good or happy, he focused his attention on thinking about things that felt good or seemed happy. Whenever he saw people who weren't happy, he wondered why they allowed that to happen. Why would anyone choose to feel bad when they could just think of something that made them feel good? Over time, Seven developed an ability to make himself happy no matter what was going on around him. No matter what was happening in his life, he could always think of something that made him happy, or go to somewhere better in his mind to avoid sad or unhappy feelings. Then one day, his best friend moved away, and, in a very small way, Seven began to feel the pain of losing him. But before that feeling could get very far into his awareness, he started thinking of all the other friends he would now have time to meet. He would just move on. Why wouldn't he? Thinking about his new, fun future friends made him feel happy again. What Seven didn't realize, however, was that sometimes his happiness was superficial. Sometimes it was just an escape and not true pleasure. It was not the pure joy he had felt when he was very young. 7 didn't know that sometimes feeling pain can be important, even if it doesn't feel good. From his happy, pleasure-seeking perspective, he couldn't see that some emotional experiences can be rich and satisfying because they are real, even if they don't make us happy. Sometimes we know real joy because we allow for the experience of pain. For 7, it was true that he really loved his friend, and he would really miss him. And feeling that pain was an opportunity for him to acknowledge that love and the sadness that was also connected to that love. But because 7 automatically avoided pain without realizing it, he also avoided feeling his love. By avoiding his pain and insisting on feeling happy all the time, he eventually became unable to acknowledge many of his true feelings. He lost the ability to experience the true joy that comes with focusing deeply on one thing at a time, including all his feelings, and to take pleasure in whatever is real. 7 had become a zombie, a very happy, fun-loving zombie, but a zombie just the same.
Thank you, Dan. That's the 7, and it may resonate with you. You say, "Oh, yeah, it's me," but certainly you know some in your family, work, neighbors. That's the thing about learning the whole. And so, thanks for that view, Dan. Now, Jill's going to give us a sense of what it feels like to be a 2.
Good morning, everybody. Once upon a time, there was a person named 2. When she was young, she was a happy child, full of love and a deep sense of satisfaction in life. She loved people and loved loving people. She felt a deep sense of love for herself and all the beings in the world. From birth, she had a beautiful emotional sensitivity and an especially strong need to feel loved and supported. But as 2 grew up, perhaps because of this trait, she experienced bad feelings when some of her needs weren't met by the people around her. Sometimes when she was hungry, no one came to feed her. Sometimes when she got hurt, no one realized she needed comfort. And when she felt her deep need for love, she often felt that she did not receive it. 2 tried to find the love she needed by expressing love for the people around her. She tried to get them to take care of her by taking care of them. If she was very pleasing, helpful, and supportive of others, she thought, they would want to be pleasing, helpful, and supportive of her. They might remember to take care of her. To get the love she needed so much, 2 found herself doing all she could to please the people in her world. The affection of others made her feel safe and helped her avoid feeling neglected. In her quest to be loved or liked, she focused a great deal of energy on all her relationships. She created very positive connections with others. She listened to them. She expressed interest in them. She said funny things to entertain them. She always looked her best to impress them. She made them feel happy by giving them things they liked or needed, sometimes even before they knew they needed them. 2 became quite good at pleasing people and even liked to do it most of the time, although it sometimes made her very tired. Over time, 2's desire to win people's love made her extremely good at tuning in to what they were feeling. This helped her make them feel good, so they would appreciate her and take care of her. She became very generous and giving because she saw that when she gave people things, they liked her more. But she didn't like to ask for anything for herself because others might say no. And when that happened, she felt rejected. And feeling rejected was the opposite of feeling loved. Eventually, after years of trying to avoid the pain of not being loved, 2 erased the memory of love almost completely. Because Tu was so good at doing things that pleased others, a lot of people did like her, and this made her feel important. But in focusing on everyone else's needs, Tu forgot all about her own needs and sometimes her feelings. Eventually, she lost all awareness of her needs and feelings. All she ever did was seek approval from others. Driven by her unconscious need to be appreciated, she even started to control and manipulate others because sometimes she had to make them see how important she was. She became really good at imposing her will on others in ways they didn't realize because she disguised herself so well as a nice, generous, and selfless person. Tu's survival strategies came to rule her life. She completely forgot about the original need for love that had driven her to please others. She sometimes felt a vague sense of satisfaction when they approved of her, but it went away quickly, leaving her even hungrier for more. She tried to meet everyone's needs, even when she was completely exhausted. She shapeshifted into a different person every time she wanted someone's approval, and she couldn't say no to anyone. Her need to be liked and important became insatiable, and in trying to be whatever she had to be to get people to like her, she lost all memory of her true self. Occasionally, when someone did offer Tu genuine love, she didn't even realize it was happening. By learning to settle for small bits of attention, appreciation, and approval, she had deadened herself to her own larger needs and deeper feelings, and cut herself off from herself and her ability to receive what she wanted the most. This made her totally unable to take in anything good from others, including the love she had wanted in the first place. Tu had become a zombie, a very friendly, generous, helpful zombie, but a zombie just the same.
Thank you, Jill. And so we've had the sort of a thinking external and then a feeling external, and now this is a sensate or instinctive uh, uh, way to externalize, and that's the 8 on the Enneagram, and it's going to be read to us by Rebecca.
Ahoy, friends. It's me, the 8. The path from lust to innocence. Ooh. If you are patient in one moment of anger, you will escape 100 days of sorrow. Chinese proverb. Once upon a time, there was a person named 8. She came into this world as a sensitive and sweet child. She was completely innocent, as all children are. She had a lot of energy, always saw the best in people, and was eager to learn all she could about the world. But early in life, 8 had an experience in which she needed protection, and there was no one there to take care of her. Sometimes there were things she just couldn't do by herself, even though she was bright and capable for someone so young. The people in her life were bigger than she was, didn't seem to notice when she needed to be cared for, listened to, or fed. And a few times when one of the older kids hurt her, no one saw that she was little and needed protection. So 8 learned the hard way that she had to take care of herself. If no one else was going to do it, it would have to be her job. She would have to get big, fast, too fast. She would have to be strong. She would have to be powerful, even though she was still small. Sometimes people around her fought, and they didn't notice she was scared. So she would have to be fearless, in addition to being big and strong and powerful. 8 had a lot of natural energy, so in time she became fully able to protect herself. She became strong and learned how to take care of herself by herself, and sometimes other people as well. She learned to be scary instead of being scared, and she was good at it. One thing that helped her to be as strong as she needed to be was her ability to get angry. Sometimes when someone did something she didn't like, she could get very angry very quickly. Anger felt like energy rushing through her body, and although she didn't always plan to get angry or even want to, it helped her a lot. Her anger helped her to be even more fearless and even more scary. And appearing large, angry, and scary made it possible for her to feel fully capable of taking care of herself. Eventually, 8 didn't even notice when she wasn't protected by the people from whom she expected protection, because she didn't feel so helpless anymore. The only problem was that now many things made her angry, and in a way she liked being angry, or at least didn't mind it. It just happened, especially when she needed someone and there was no one there for her, or when older girls bullied her at school because they sensed her power and didn't like it. Soon, 8 didn't even notice when no one supported her because she could support herself so well. She didn't need anyone. She was strong enough, and everyone else seemed so much weaker than she was. She was told that sometimes she scared people even when she wasn't trying to. Sometimes people left when she entered a room or stopped talking after she spoke loudly. She wasn't sure what was wrong with them. Why weren't others as strong as she was? Weak people made her angry, and her anger made her feel strong and full of energy. But sometimes she saw that weak people were treated badly or unfairly, and then she used her strength to help them if they needed it. Every once in a while, the 8 felt a little bit lonely. She discovered that sometimes, when she was the most powerful person around, others didn't want to be close to her. She didn't really understand it, but that's the way it was, and she was mostly okay with that because she could usually get what she wanted. All she had to do was become angry and scare a few people. She didn't really care if anyone liked her. She'd lost the sensitivity she was born with. It didn't really work to be sensitive and strong and powerful, and she needed to be as powerful to take care of herself. Soon, 8 noticed that she couldn't stop getting angry. She couldn't stop being strong and powerful. And why should she? She wasn't sensitive and innocent anymore. Being that way reminded her too much of when she was too small and weak to protect herself. It was better to be strong and powerful. She always knew how to take care of everything. Why would she give that up to feel like a scared little girl again? Occasionally, she felt a little bit alone because almost no one was as strong as she was. She sometimes got a tiny bit sad because there was never anyone there to take care of her. She had to take care of everyone. But then she would sense her own energy and strength, and she would feel glad that she was so powerful. Nothing and no one could hurt her. That seemed like a good thing, even though it was sometimes hard on her. 8 had become a zombie, a forceful, unstoppable, unapproachable zombie, but zombie just the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca, for the reading. Yeah, so that's a peek at the those three energies. And they all end with the same thing, but a zombie just the same. And again, the zombie is a metaphor for people who are controlled by in Haiti. That's where the zombie lore comes from. You're controlled by a master. You're not in control of yourself, and so the Haitians had a saying about zombies. They say the way to wake up a zombie is to give them a sip of salt water. Sometimes, and that gives you a little a sense of the Enneagram. Salt water doesn't taste good, and people might reject it. And so, when you actually get into finding out what sort of blocks your path, doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good, and so to have a kind of conscious kind of you have to be conscious to walk this path, and um, from being sort of imprisoned in a kind of childhood world to being a flourishing adult. We're all zombies on the path. It's a path from alienation to liberation, from merely surviving to flourishing. I mean, a goal to live to be 100. What is that? I'd rather be, you know, some people have flourished by the age of 30. So it's not about surviving because none of us, this body and mind doesn't survive, but you can flourish. And it's ultimately from role to soul, where you understand who you really are, and then you can just be that. Be that. Grace is involved in this. One time I had a good guy who became a good friend of mine. He stayed after when I was doing sessions at Loose Leaf Hall on Thursday nights, uh, once a week for the local guys, and he stayed after to ask me a question, and then never forget it. And then I said, okay. I thought he had a problem with his latest girlfriend, but he said, "You talk about grace a lot." He says, I don't know what you're talking about." And so we had a good talk. Uh, what I think grace is, it's a word to describe the life force energy of the universe. When George Lucas latched onto the Force, may the Force be with you, he's playing with this same model. It's the life force energy of the universe. We call that grace. And that grace will continually offer you a sip of salt water. Life is constantly trying to wake you up to where you're to your destination, which is to be wholly you and to flourish. And sometimes it comes in the form of fierce grace or dark grace. There's also friendly grace. So it's friendly or fierce, dark or light. It's like two sides of the coin. Oftentimes, some of the great grace for me was when our marriage was shipwrecked twice, and that was dark, and that was fierce. But we both learned a lot from it, and we had to let go of things that were getting in the way of our marriage. So the Enneagram's a map. Again, it shows you where the hidden reefs are. And once you know them, you don't have to get rid of them. You learn how to go around them. That's what the Tibetans mean when they say recognition and liberation is simultaneous. So when you recognize the things that are getting in the way, you can skirt around them. But then, the next day, if you're not paying attention, boom, I'm judging again. Judging is one of the great reefs for everybody. But for somebody once asked me, can you just simplify what it means to be a one? I said, yeah, judgment. Judgment in pants, or it can be in a skirt, as we know. So if you have a map, and that's helpful, but it's not enough. It's helpful to have a map, but in this game of trying to go from role to soul, contemplative practices, like every time before I know it, I'm judging somebody, but it's just there. And then I have a practice for dealing with that judgment. And that helps. So, I just don't really, it helps to dissolve it. So a lot of times before you know it, you're that reef's been there my whole life, and it will be. I just have to realize how to recognize it and skirt it. So if you have a map and contemplative practices, that's why we're getting ready to go to our middle section. We're segueing into the meditation part. Meditation is one of many contemplative practice, but it's a sort of key. Silent meditation. It can really open you up to this life energy, which we call grace. And over time, on this path, you flourish as you learn to trust this life force energy, which really is trust in life. And it grows more and more. I mean, I've been doing this over 50 years, and I got to say, it's a long path, but it does grow. Your trust in life itself starts to grow more and more. And that's really what faith means. Faith is a deeper trust in what you've been given, this life, this planet, with all its terror and beauty. Yeah. So I'm going to put on the icon that we use from time to time because uh, it sort of epitomizes what happens in contemplation, meditation. It's a dropping. You let go of everything. You let go of those things that are holding, keeping you on the surface of life. If you look at the little circle on the surface of the mandorla there, the egg-shaped force field, it's on the surface of thing. And if you can let go of the surface, which is all meditation techniques are about ways to let go of the surface, you will naturally, gravity will bring you down into the life force energy that is within you, but it's at your very center, you see. It's not on the surface. And but it involves constantly letting go, letting go. And then the mind kicks in, you start thinking about, well, what's for lunch? And then you're back up. So there's a lot of this. But it's a descent into something that has much more life force energy. It might be called the center, might be called the silence, the stillness. Okay. So we'll leave that up. And I'm just going to give you just a little spoken meditation. It's very hard to just go right into bang into the silence. So I'll use a few words to lead us into the silence. So if you can just get into meditation posture and mode, and I'll just recite a few words to maybe give you a push if you need it in the right direction. And let go of the words at any time, too. If you feel yourself just dropping naturally, that's great. I just call this poem a contemplation and dedicated this poem to all zombies everywhere. All can be a zombie. We all are zombies from time to time. This is sort of one way to let go of being a zombie for a while. Allow yourself to fall into the deep silence of great mystery. Allow yourself to fall into the deep silence of great mystery. Experience coming alive in the silence, in the stillness, in the now. Allow yourself to fall into the deep silence of great mystery. Experience coming alive in the silence, in the stillness, in the now. This is the real road to resurrection. Experience coming alive in silence, stillness, in the now. Past and future let go of in the now. This is the real road to resurrection. This is the real road to resurrection. Resurrection isn't the end. It's the beginning. Resurrection isn't the end. It's the beginning.